going on, ladies and gents? Cerebro here for T3G, and today we're going to be doing a review of the Thermaltake Challenger Prime gaming keyboard. Now, of course, you know we don't do unboxings, and here it is. The lovely thing about this, I'm going to say this right off the bat, this thing's got 3 LEDs, so really it's going to match anything you want. The box, as you saw, had a blue layout on it. I've got it hooked up to my Stealth. It's got red lighting inside, the red and black 970 MSI. So I go with the red on this. Now you can very easily switch to different colors and turn it off altogether if you want. Now the only thing that's not the same color as your current layout is your indicators for num, scroll, and caps lock. Those are also the indicators of which theme you're using. So instead of switching manually, you actually can save them with the M1, 2, and 3 buttons at the top left here, and it'll switch over automatically. So I've only got the red set. The other two they just default to blue, which is kind of the main color for this, but they can be adjusted to whatever you want. The other thing that's nice, well, kind of, is there's a control for the intensity of the light. Now I don't really think it's all that intense to begin with, but you can actually dim it down to basically, well, not basically, you can turn it off using the giant dial at the top of the keyboard. I was a little upset because I did really want that to be the volume, but it is not. Volume is controlled by buttons, which does tend to get kind of annoying when I want to turn up the volume fast. Now next to those volume buttons, you do have your media controls, which are super handy. I use those all the time. It works pretty much with any running app, so I use it with Spotify, iTunes on the rare occasion I use that. And to the left of that, before the M buttons, the memory buttons, you have your kind of browser / media buttons. Now these buttons are kind of old school, I think, but they do come in handy once in a while. I think it would have been better served to throw in like a calculator or something like that directly on there as opposed to a function. But I suppose some people could use it. You got your computer button, your home, which opens up your primary browser to the home page, and then of course your email, which will open up your primary email service, which, even though I do use the Windows Mail, is not apparently set on my computer for some reason. Now, as I was saying, with the function keys, you do have some other options. So you actually do get fast forward and slow, I guess, or reverse, fast reverse. You get the calculator, and you get a refresh, back and forward for browsing, and then you actually can turn on a fading. You can turn on a fading effect for the light as well. Now, while you can do everything on the keyboard for the most part without software, it does have the Thermaltake Esports software that does let you control pretty much every single aspect of this keyboard. It's actually kind of cool for the super customizing types out there. Primarily what I want to use it for is this lineup here, the T1 through 6. But the cool thing that I found out, I actually just downloaded this during the filming of this video, you can actually change the layout of every single key on the keyboard. So if you don't want your A to be A, you can make it do whatever you want. So it's got a lot of customization, and you can actually control the color scheme from the software as well as directly on the keyboard. So a lot of really cool features built into the software. It does have, on the hardware side of things, got kind of like a little wrist rest, which I do appreciate. I've got big hands, so having a wrist rest is really, really useful. And it's got kind of a grip on it, so it's pretty nice because you're not going to really slide around on it. The rest of the keyboard has a couple different textures, which is not usual for me. I usually see either one texture or maybe 2. Here we've got easily 4 different textures happening on the keyboard. So we've got kind of a smooth plastic, which most keyboards that I've come in contact with have, where the logo is. We've got a shiny plastic, which is kind of sparse throughout. We've got it at the top, we've got it at the bottom here around the grip area. And then there's also this kind of, I don't even know what to call it. It's almost like a distressed plastic feel, I guess. More textured of a plastic that's really kind of, again, intermixed with the the shiny stuff. So it's kind of got an interesting look to it overall and an interesting layout. That's kind of why I picked it up. It's got kind of an aggressive feel. There's a little bit of accents here that give it more of an aggressive feel, and that's what I wanted to check out. It does, of course, have your standard flips on the bottom, your legs, so you can incline it. And it actually does have a braided cable, which is nice, and a pretty hefty USB cable, or a port rather. My beef with this keyboard is primarily in that it doesn't take a lot of punishment. I type very heavily. I tend to type very heavily. So what ended up happening, I've had it only for 2.5 months, if that, and I don't even know if you guys will catch this. That's really annoying, especially when typing. You use the spacebar a lot, so that that constant whine is really not helping me out. So what I'm actually going to end up doing with this, once I pick out a new replacement, I'm going to give this to my mom because she needs a new keyboard. She won't need the software because she really doesn't do much besides type, and she doesn't type very much, so that's probably not going to bug her too much. But overall, I think it's a decent keyboard. I think if you don't do a ton of typing per se, I think you should be okay with it. I think if you want something that's a good price and something that looks a little nicer than your cheap keyboards and has a little more functionality, this is definitely the way to go. One of my requirements is having that the calculator option. This has it through the function key, so that was good enough for me. And the media buttons, that's kind of my big thing. Next time I'm definitely going to look for something with a wheel or some sort of scrolling, moving piece for the volume because the buttons just aren't doing it for me. But overall, I'd say I'd give it a good 7 out of 10 if I was, on that grading scale. I think it's a decent keyboard. I think it has a lot of good functionality, and if you want some customization, it's got that as well. And I think if the build quality was just a little bit higher, I would have definitely been willing to pay a couple more dollars for it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say. Appreciate you guys watching this one. Trying something different here. I don't know if you guys watched some of our really older videos. We're back in the office, so this is my stealth setup. We got the server over here, and what's covered up behind me is work, because who wants to be at work while they're doing other fun stuff? I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, make sure you drop them down below. I'll do my best to answer them. And yeah, see you guys next time. Hope you have any. If you have